What is the strangest thing you have ever seen on television? Whatever you just pictured, the 1980s beat it. Back then, the networks were desperate, and they would greenlight almost anything. A talking monkey running the government, a robot child hiding in a bedroom closet, a grown man who turned into a Black Panther to fight crime. Most people pretend these shows never happened, but they did, and they are so much weirder than you remember. Let us count them down. Number 20. Probe, 1988. We start with a show that thought it was too smart for the room. It was called Probe, and it landed on ABC in 1988. Here is the wild part. It was co-created by Isaac Asimov, one of the greatest science fiction writers who ever lived. This was the only television series he ever made. The star was a man named Austin James, played by Parker Stevenson. Austin was a genius with a perfect memory. He was also rude, lonely, and allergic to normal people. He built a giant think tank called Serendip, then refused to run it. Instead, he lived inside a warehouse full of machines he invented himself. To balance him out, the company sent him a down-to-earth secretary named Mickey. She was the heart, and he was the brain. The police kept dragging Austin out to solve deaths that made no sense. In the pilot, a rich woman is found dead, and her body is colder than the freezing room around her. That is supposed to be impossible. Austin figures it out anyway, then battles a computer virus that keeps copying itself. His front door even had a riddle for a lock. In one weird episode, he investigates whether an orangutan committed a murder. Sadly, the writer's strike of 1988 hit. The show ran out of scripts, and it vanished after only 7 episodes. It was way ahead of its time. Number 19. Something is Out There, 1988. Next up is Something is Out There, which crashed onto NBC in 1988. It started as a miniseries, and it was genuinely scary. A tough cop named Jack Breslin is hunting a killer who rips the organs out of victims at a speed no human could match. Then he meets a beautiful woman named Tara, played by Mariam Dabo, who had just been a Bond girl. Here is the twist. Tara is an alien. She works as a medic on a prison starship, and the killer is a monster that escaped from her ship. It can shapeshift and jump from body to body. So the cop and the alien team up to hunt it across the city. Tara was easily the weirdest part. Her people make love by touching palms, so she is constantly annoyed that Earthmen only want her body. Even better, coffee gets her drunk. A simple cup of caffeine makes her tipsy. The famous moment is the creature itself. The great effects wizards Rick Baker and John Dykstra built the monster. And it was a genuine nightmare. All insect legs and dripping teeth. The show came from Frank Lupo, the same writer who made the A-Team. The miniseries was a huge hit, so NBC rushed it into a weekly series. But they cut the budget, dropped the scary monster, and turned it into a boring cop show. Fans felt cheated, and it was gone by December. One great idea, quickly ruined. Number 18. The Highwayman, 1987. Now we hit the era of the crazy vehicle. This one is The Highwayman, from Glenn Larson, the same man who made Knight Rider. It aired on NBC across 1987 and 1988, and it is set in the near future. The hero is a mysterious lawman. We never even learn his real name. Everyone just calls him Highway, played by Sam J. Jones, who was famous for playing Flash Gordon. He dresses like Mad Max and roams the desert highways, fighting crime that is too strange for normal police. Many critics called it Mad Max meets Knight Rider. But the truck is the real star. It is a giant black 18-wheeler, and the front cab is secretly a helicopter. That is right. The nose of the truck detaches and flies away as an aircraft. A sports car can also roll out of the back. In the pilot, the truck could even turn invisible. The scene everyone loves is that helicopter reveal. The cab lifts off the truck, takes to the sky, and blows a line of police cars sky high. It is completely insane and completely awesome. The pilot also had a stacked cast, including a young Jimmy Smits and the wrestler Roddy Piper as broken-down heroes. And keep an eye out for Tim Russ, who later became Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager. Sadly, the show was very expensive, and it aired against the hit Beauty and the Beast. It was canceled after only 9 episodes, but that flying truck lives forever. Number 17, Street Hawk, 1985. Staying on wheels, we have Street Hawk. It rode onto ABC in 1985, and it was basically Knight Rider on a motorcycle. The hero is Jesse Mach, played by Rex Smith. He was a motorcycle cop until a criminal wrecked his leg and left him stuck at a desk. Then a secret government engineer named Norman recruits him. Norman has built a super machine called Street Hawk. It is an all-terrain attack motorcycle. It can hit 300 miles per hour, and it is loaded with lasers and weapons. Jesse becomes a police public relations man by day and a masked bike vigilante by night. Only Norman knows his true identity. The magic word was hyperthrust. When Jesse hit hyperthrust, the bike would rocket forward at that insane top speed and leap over cars and walls. Those stunt jumps were the whole reason kids watched. The theme music, by the way, was made by the famous band Tangerine Dream, and fans still call it one of the best television themes ever. Here is a fun secret. The pilot episode was packed with future stars. A young George Clooney shows up, years before he was famous. And Christopher Lloyd plays the villain, right around the time of Back to the Future. Just like The Highwayman, the show cost a fortune to make, and it was crushed in the ratings by the giant soap opera Dallas. It was actually a mid-season replacement that never found its footing. ABC pulled the plug after 13 episodes. Number 16. Otherworld, 1985. Now things get truly strange. Otherworld aired on CBS in 1985, and it is like nothing else. It follows the Sterling family, 2 parents and 3 kids, on vacation in Egypt. They take a tour deep inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and this happens during a rare lining up of the planets that only comes once every 10,000 years. When they walk out, they are not on Earth anymore. They are trapped in a parallel world called Thel. Thel is a nightmare. It is broken into separate provinces, each with its own strict and crazy way of life. Travel between them is banned, and cruel soldiers called zone troopers hunt anyone who breaks the rules. The family accidentally makes an enemy of a nasty commander named Kroll, and he chases them everywhere. Fun fact, Kroll was played by Jonathan Banks, who you know as Mike from Breaking Bad. The best episode is pure genius. The teenage kids start singing songs by the Beatles, because on Thel, nobody has ever heard them. The songs are brand new to that world, so the kids become instant rock stars. Even the villain loves the music. In another episode, the teenage son falls in love with a girl who turns out to be a robot, and all the laser guns were strangely designed to be held upside down. The family spends every week traveling closer to a city that might send them home. But CBS buried it on Saturday nights, and it died after 8 episodes. They never made it home. Number 15. Werewolf, 1987. Let us add some horror. Werewolf was one of the very first shows on the brand new Fox network in 1987. It aired on Sunday nights, right between 2 other new Fox shows, Married with Children and 21 Jump Street. And it was dark. The hero is a college student named Eric Cord, played by John J. York. One night his best friend confesses a terrible secret. He is a werewolf, and he has been killing people. He begs Eric to shoot him with silver bullets. Eric does it, but not before the friend bites him. Now Eric is cursed too. To break the curse, he must hunt down and kill the very first werewolf in his bloodline, an evil old sea captain named Janos Skorzeny. Skorzeny was played by Chuck Connors, a huge television star. This was his last major role, and he passed away shortly after. The monster effects were made by Rick Baker, the same wizard behind An American Werewolf in London. It felt like a scary version of The Fugitive, with a bounty hunter always chasing Eric. The famous image is the change itself. A red mark, shaped like a 5-pointed star, rises up out of Eric's palm and begins to bleed, and Skorzeny transformed by literally peeling the skin off his own face to show the wolf underneath. Behind the scenes, there was drama. Chuck Connors thought his villain was the true star. He tried to demand more money, so the writers quietly cut him out and killed him off. The show ended on a cliffhanger and never gave Eric his cure. Number 14. The Powers of Matthew Starr, 1982. Here is a show that could not decide what it wanted to be. The Powers of Matthew Starr aired on NBC starting in 1982. The hero, Matthew Starr, played by Peter Barton, looks like a normal teenager at his high school. He is not normal. He is actually an alien prince from a faraway planet. Bad guys took over his world, so he was sent to Earth to grow up and develop his powers. He can move things with his mind and read thoughts. One day, he plans to go home and free his people. His guardian and protector was played by Louis Gossett Jr., a real Oscar-winning actor, who pretended to be a science teacher to stay close. Every week, assassins from his home planet tried to kill him, but the show was struggling, so halfway through the season it completely changed. It dropped the whole high school idea and turned the 2 heroes into secret agents for the government, complete with rings that glowed green when duty called. There are some amazing behind-the-scenes facts. The show could not even settle on a name, and was almost called David Starr or Daniel Starr. Peter Barton was badly burned in a real stunt accident with a fire flare, and Louis Gossett Jr. helped save him. Star Trek Legends helped out too. Leonard Nimoy directed one episode, and Walter Koenig wrote another. And believe it or not, Peter Barton beat a young Tom Cruise to win the lead role. It still only lasted one season. Number 13. Wizards and Warriors, 1983. Time for some sword and sorcery. Wizards and Warriors aired on CBS in 1983. But do not expect a serious fantasy epic. This was a silly comedy that made fun of the whole Knights and Dragons idea. The story takes place in a make-believe medieval land. On the good side is brave Prince Eric, played by Jeff Conaway from the movie Grease. He is engaged to a spoiled princess named Ariel, played by Julia Duffy, who later became famous on the show Newhart. On the evil side is the handsome and wicked Prince Dirk Blackpool. The two princes are always at war, and both sides use wizards and witches and magic spells to try to win. There were fiery swords, ghosts, demons, and glowing amulets. It looked pretty good, and the costumes were so nice they actually won an Emmy Award. Even better, 3 episodes were directed by Bill Bixby, the star of The Incredible Hulk. The reason people remember it is the villain, Prince Dirk Blackpool. He was so charming and so evil that he stole every single scene he appeared in. Fans still talk about him decades later. Here is a sneaky money-saving trick the show used. Some of the big battle scenes were not filmed at all. The producers just reused old footage from the movie Excalibur. The show arrived right when the game Dungeons & Dragons was at its peak. But viewers did not tune in, and CBS canceled it after just 8 episodes. It was a cult favorite that vanished far too fast. Number 12. Galactica 1980. Now for a famous flop. This is Galactica 1980. It was the sequel to the beloved show Battlestar Galactica, and fans had begged the network to bring the story back. They should have been careful what they wished for. The idea sounds cool. After 30 years of searching space, the giant fleet of human survivors finally finds Earth. But there is a problem. Earth is too primitive to help them fight their robot enemies, the Cylons. So warriors are sent down in secret to blend in and quietly help our scientists. The great actor Lorne Greene returned as the wise leader, Commander Adama. There was even a spooky boy genius named Dr. Z who advised the fleet. And the budget was tiny, which led to the show's most famous feature, flying motorcycles. The heroes zoomed around on motorbikes that could lift off and fly through the sky. The special effects for this were laughably bad, with obvious fake backgrounds. The heroes could also turn invisible. The single best scene is a fake attack on Los Angeles. Dr. Z shows a pretend simulation of what would happen if the Cylons found Earth, and it is genuinely thrilling. It was better than the rest of the show combined. Many fans agree the finest episode was one called The Return of Starbuck. Sadly, the network forced the show to be educational for kids, and even added a group of children called the Super Scouts. It is often ranked as one of the worst shows ever made. It was gone in a few short months. Number 11. Hard Time on Planet Earth, 1989. Here is another alien stuck on our planet. Hard Time on Planet Earth aired on CBS in 1989. It came from the two brothers who wrote the movie Predator. The hero is a super strong alien warrior. He was so violent back home that he was put on trial and nearly executed. Instead, as a punishment, he is sent to Earth trapped in a weak human body. He must live here and help people until he learns to be gentle and kind. He is played by Martin Kove, who you probably know as the mean karate teacher Kreese from The Karate Kid. He takes the human name Jesse from a name tag on the first shirt he grabs. He is not alone. A small floating robot follows him everywhere. It looks like a flying mechanical eyeball, and its name is Control. Control is his parole officer, judge, and guide all in one. The catch is that Jesse learns about human life mostly from watching television, so everything he knows is hilariously wrong. The running joke everyone remembers is Control's catchphrase. Whenever things went bad, the little robot would announce in a flat voice, "Negative outcome, not good." It never got old. The most famous scene has Jesse working as a hot dog vendor at a wrestling match. He gets so angry watching two wrestlers gang up on one man that he jumps in to fight them, while the crowd chants "Hot Dog Man." One magazine review joked that Walt Disney must be spinning in his grave. The show was crushed by growing pains and canceled after 13 episodes. Number 10. Misfits of Science, 1985. Halfway there, and this one is a hidden gem. Misfits of Science aired on NBC in 1985. Think of it as a low-budget comedy version of the X-Men, made to feel like the hit movie Ghostbusters. A young scientist named Billy gathers a team of people with strange powers to protect them from the government. The team is wonderfully odd. There is a 7-foot-tall man who can shrink down to 11 inches, played by Kevin Peter Hall, the same giant actor who played the Predator. There is a rock and roll musician who can shoot electricity from his hands but is terrified of water. And there is an angry teenage girl who can move things with her mind. That teenage girl is the reason this show is remembered today. She was played by a young, unknown Courtney Cox, years before she became a huge star on Friends. The whole team even drove around fighting crime in an ice cream truck. The network boss famously said they would get their story ideas straight from the National Enquirer tabloid, so the plots were bonkers. In one episode, 3 senior citizens gained superpowers after eating hamburgers made from radioactive meat. In the pilot, they battle over a man who was frozen alive for 50 years. It was funny and clever, and honestly, a little ahead of its time. But the special effects were expensive, so the team barely got to use their powers, which frustrated viewers. It was cancelled after only 15 episodes aired. A true cult classic that most people missed. Number 9. Jennifer Slept Here, 1983. Get ready for the strangest death in television history. Jennifer Slept Here aired on NBC in 1983. It is a comedy about a ghost. The ghost is a gorgeous movie star named Jennifer Farrell, played by Ann Gillian. Here is how she died. She was chasing an ice cream truck near her house. The truck backed up, ran her over, and killed her. Yes, really. Years later, a family moves into her old Hollywood mansion. Jennifer is still there as a friendly ghost, but only the teenage son, Joey, can see her. She floats through walls, moves objects, and acts as his mentor and guide through his teen years. Of course, everyone thinks Joey is crazy, because they keep catching him talking to thin air. The idea was borrowed from old ghost shows like Topper, and The Ghost, and Mrs. Muir. The famous episode features an exorcist trying to get rid of Jennifer. The exorcist was played by Zelda Rubinstein, making fun of her own famous role from the horror movie Poltergeist. She performs a goofy ceremony and actually traps Jennifer's spirit inside a jar. Joey has to set her free. The movie legend Debbie Reynolds even guest-starred as Jennifer's ghostly mother. The show also had a very catchy theme song, and old fans can still sing the words about how she lived and loved and slept here. But it aired against the Dukes of Hazzard and got low ratings. The reruns actually became popular, but the star left to join another show, so it was cancelled for good. Number 8. Out of This World, 1987. This next one is a beloved childhood favorite that is truly bizarre. Out of This World started in 1987 and ran for 4 seasons in syndication. It is about a teenage girl named Evie. On her 13th birthday, Evie learns a huge secret. Her father is an alien from another planet. That makes her half human and half alien, and it gives her amazing powers. Her main power is the coolest thing ever. By simply touching the tips of her 2 pointer fingers together, she can freeze time completely. Everything around her stops. To start the world again, she just claps her hands. Every kid who watched this show tried to do the finger trick. It never worked, but they tried anyway. Evie could also make objects appear out of thin air, which she called gleeping. Later, on her 16th birthday, she even gained the power to teleport. Now here is a fact almost nobody knows. Evie talked to her alien dad through a glowing cube on her desk. She could hear his voice but never see him. That voice belonged to a giant movie star, Burt Reynolds, who was uncredited and never appeared on screen. A famous running gag involved the freezing power. Evie once froze her boyfriend, then unfroze him, and lied that everyone else was just dancing a strange new dance. She also had to fool a goofy town mayor who never noticed her alien antics. The show was aimed at kids, and critics were not kind, but it was gentle and fun. And it lasted much longer than most shows on this list. Number 7. The Charmings, 1987. What happens after Happily Ever After? The Charmings tried to answer that on ABC in 1987. The stars are Snow White and Prince Charming, from the classic fairy tale. The evil queen puts them under a sleeping spell, but the spell goes wrong and lasts 1,000 years. When everyone wakes up, they are living in a normal suburb of Los Angeles in the 1980s, and the evil queen, plus a dwarf, got dragged into the future with them. Now, they all have to share a house like a very strange family. Snow White and the Prince, played by Christopher Rich, try to raise their 2 sons using old fairy tale values in a modern world of malls and cars. The wicked queen keeps trying to ruin everything with magic that always backfires. The best character by far was the magic mirror, played by the respected actor Paul Winfield. He was a sassy face inside a mirror who spent all his time insulting the vain queen. Whenever she asked who was the fairest of them all, he would happily tell her, "It ain't you." There were fun modern jokes too. In one episode, the family gets addicted to credit cards but pays the bill off with a closet full of gold bars. In another, The prince pulls out real medieval gear for a game of Dungeons and Dragons. The Walt Disney Company was not happy about an unofficial Snow White show. Between that and low ratings, it was canceled after 2 short seasons. Years later, ABC tried the same idea with a hit called Once Upon a Time. Number 6. No Soap. Radio. 1982. Now for the most confusing show on this entire list. No Soap. Radio. Aired on ABC in 1982. On the surface, it is about a young man named Roger, played by a young Steve Guttenberg, who runs a rundown hotel in Atlantic City. But that hotel story was a trick. The show was really an excuse for a non-stop blast of insane, random comedy sketches, in the style of Monty Python or Fawlty Towers. The jokes had nothing to do with the plot. They just happened. How weird did it get? One storyline featured a living chair that ate people. Another sketch showed a man interviewing for a job at a hat company, where the boss was just a floating human head with no body, and his secretary typed with her nose. Characters might be walking down a hall when a giant foot suddenly crashes down in front of them. One news bulletin even announced that Mr. Potato Head had been kidnapped. The Daredevil comic Super Dave Osborne showed up to do crazy stunts. Even the title is a joke. No Soap Radio is an old prank. You tell a nonsense story with no real ending, then say those words as the punchline, just to see if people pretend to laugh along. It was one of the boldest and craziest things ever put on American television. Sadly, in 1982, audiences were watching serious hits like Dallas, and they had no idea what to make of this madness. 13 episodes were made, but only 5 ever aired before it was yanked off the schedule forever. Number 5. Automan, 1983. We are into the top 5, and here comes a glowing legend. Automan aired on ABC across 1983 and 1984. It was made to cash in on the hit Disney movie Tron. The hero is a shy police computer nerd named Walter, played by Desi Arnaz Jr. He is stuck in the basement doing desk work when he really wants to be a real cop. So he builds his own crime-fighting friend inside the computer. That friend is Automan, a hologram who can walk out into the real world at night and fight crime. Automan glows bright blue with neon lines all over his body, just like a video game character. He has a floating little sidekick named Cursor, a ball of light that can draw and build almost anything out of thin air. Need a car? Cursor draws one instantly, usually a super cool Lamborghini. The funniest detail is the car itself. Because it used video game logic, it could only turn at perfect 90-degree angles, snapping sideways in an instant. Automan could also wrap himself around Walter like a suit of armor to stop bullets. There was one big weakness. Automan used so much electricity that he could barely appear during the daytime. He was mostly a nighttime hero. Here is a fun fact. The famous British actor Patrick Macnee gave the voice to the little sidekick Cursor. Fans adored the show, but each episode cost around $1 million to make, which was huge back then. The bills were too high, and ABC canceled it after 12 episodes. Number 4. Sledgehammer, 1986. This next show is a comedy masterpiece that is almost too funny. Sledgehammer, with an exclamation point, aired on ABC starting in 1986. It made fun of tough guy cop movies like Dirty Harry. The hero is Inspector Sledgehammer, played by David Rash. He is the most extreme cop you can imagine. He loves violence, and he solves every single problem by shooting it. But the real joke is his relationship with his gun. He truly loves his big shiny handgun more than any person. He talks to it. He sleeps next to it on its own pillow. And he even showers with it. He worked with a patient partner named Dory and a boss who was always yelling. His famous catchphrase was, "Trust me, I know what I am doing." He said it right before every disaster. Now for maybe the greatest scene on this whole list. At the end of the first season, the show expected to be canceled. So they wrote a finale where Sledge has to defuse a nuclear bomb sitting on top of City Hall. He says his catchphrase, "Trust me, I know what I am doing." Then he sets off the bomb and blows up the entire city. But then the show got renewed for a second season. So how did they explain the whole city being destroyed? They simply ignored it. They put a title on screen saying the new season took place 5 years earlier and carried on like nothing happened. It was brilliant and hilarious. The show also loved to spoof movies, once making fun of RoboCop. Number 3. Small Wonder, 1985. Almost at the top, and here is a show you might actually remember. Small Wonder ran from 1985 for 4 whole seasons. It is about a robot girl. An engineer named Ted secretly builds a robot in the shape of a 10-year-old girl. He names her Vicky, which stands for Voice Input Child Identicant. Then he brings her home and tells everyone she is his adopted daughter. The family spends every episode trying to hide the fact that their new little girl is actually a machine. Vicky was wonderfully strange. She spoke in a flat, robotic, monotone voice. She took every command literally. She had super strength and super speed. And here is the detail everyone remembers. She had an electric outlet hidden under her arm, and a little door in her back for her controls. She could even jumpstart a car with her bare hands. The family had to keep her secrets safe from their extremely nosy neighbors. Vicky could do some truly odd things, like stretch her neck out long to peek through a door. Later on, they even added an evil robot twin named Vanessa. To explain the young actress growing up, the show simply gave Vicky a growth chip. Here is a fun bonus fact. Before casting, they looked at Candace Cameron, later of Full House. The show was a giant hit around the world, and it was dubbed into more than 50 languages. In some countries, she was called Super Vicky. The show never had a proper ending. It just stopped after 4 years, leaving Vicky hidden away forever. Number 2. Manimal, 1983. At number 2 is perhaps the most famous weird show of the entire decade. Manimal aired on NBC in 1983, and it came from the busy producer Glenn Larson. The idea is gloriously silly. The hero is Dr. Jonathan Chase, played by Simon McCorkindale. He is a handsome, wealthy college professor, but he holds a secret from ancient Africa and Tibet. He can transform himself into any animal he wants. He uses this power to help the police catch criminals. Every episode opened with a deep voice explaining his mysterious past. Sounds amazing, right? But there was a problem. Turning into animals with special effects cost a lot of money, even though the effects were made by the legendary Stan Winston. So the professor almost always turned into just 2 creatures, a black panther or a hawk. Fans joked that he could become any animal, as long as it was a panther. The same short film clip of him changing into the panther was reused over and over, week after week. The transformation took a long time and looked a bit clunky, but that transformation is exactly what people remember today. They even sold a small toy line of the hero mid-change. The show was a giant flop. It aired against the wildly popular Dallas. Late-night host David Letterman made fun of it constantly, even doing a 9-minute segment mocking its cancellation. It was axed after only 8 episodes. Critics have named it one of the worst science fiction shows ever made. And yet, somehow, it became a true cult classic that people still talk about. Number 1. Mr. Smith, 1983. And here it is, the single weirdest show of the 1980s. It is called Mr. Smith, and it aired on NBC in 1983. Are you ready for this premise? The main character is an orangutan. That is right, a real ape. He had actually starred in movies with Clint Eastwood, in Every Which Way But Loose. In the show, this orangutan escapes from a research center and accidentally drinks a science experiment. The experiment is a special formula that boosts human intelligence. Suddenly the ape can talk. And he is not just smart, he is a genius. With an intelligence score of 256, far beyond any human. So the government renames him Mr. Smith, and makes him a top-secret political advisor in Washington. That is correct. A talking orangutan in a tiny business suit gives advice to run the country. His old animal trainer even shows up to become his assistant. The name is a joke on the classic movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. His staff spent every episode trying to keep his true identity a secret, while he solved big political problems. Here is a perfect fact to end on. The actor Wallace Shawn was first asked to be the voice of the genius ape. He said no. He was worried that if he happened to die during filming, his final work on Earth would be voicing a talking monkey. Critics hated the show, and it was cancelled in a few short months. But nothing, and I mean nothing, was weirder than this. So there you have it. 20 shows that proved the 1980s had no fear and no shame. Some were cancelled in weeks. A few became strange little legends. All of them are almost forgotten now. But maybe that is the real crime here. Because weird television like this simply does not get made anymore. Which one shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments. And if this brought back a buried memory, hit that like button before you forget again.